Hello! This quotation, "Beware Macduff, none of woman born shall harm Macbeth. Macbeth shall never vanquished be until great Birnam Wood to high Dunsinane Hill shall come against him," is from the Witches, and this is the second time that Macbeth visits them. So there's a heap to analyse here, and probably the quotation is too long, but what the hell? It's what Rob Ward given us. Let's plunge in. So I'm going to plunge in straight with form and structure here. So you should remember iambic pentameter, where Shakespeare writes with an unstressed syllable followed by a stressed. So beware Macduff is unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed. Macbeth shall never vanquished be. You can see how the stresses try to match normal speech. Macbeth shall never vanquished be. It feels quite natural. But look what happens here. None of woman born shall harm Macbeth. And so here we have a trochaic stress, where the stress is placed on the first syllable. And this is a subtle clue to Macbeth from the Witches that actually here they are lying. They're no longer speaking in iambic pentameter, they are deviating in the same way that they are deviating from the truth. Because this is an absolute trick, isn't it? When we find out that Macduff was from his mother's womb untimely ripped, that doesn't mean she wasn't a woman, does it? Not at all. She's still a woman because she's pregnant with Macduff. And so this is a giant cheat, if you like, and the Witches know it, and Macbeth subconsciously must know it, and this is the signal to him. So we've gone straight from the form and structure of the lines, the breaking of iambic pentameter, into a trochaic meter at the beginning to show that the Witches are lying to him. And that's a point that I doubt anyone else has pointed out to you. It's a really neat trick to pay attention to when that iambic rhythm is broken, because Shakespeare always does it for a reason. Now, the other thing to bear in mind about the Witches is they in fact always speak the truth. So Macbeth takes it to mean that no one who's born of a woman could harm him, whereas actually what the Witches mean is it's the birth that's the thing. They introduce woman as a red herring. It's to lead Macbeth astray. If they had simply said no one born naturally shall harm Macbeth, Macbeth would have gone, oh, right, okay, so I've got to look for someone who was born unnaturally. I wonder what that could be, finger on the chin. Aha, could it be a caesarean? So we can see how deceitful the Witches are by introducing this element of doubt, simply by referring to the word woman. Right, the next thing we can do is look at the semantic field of the rest of, the rest of this quotation. So let's see if I can just undo that. Here we go. This semantic field of kingship, if you like, of nobility, it comes from social hierarchy. So great Birnam Wood echoes the description that we'd have of a king, and high mirrors this idea of high status that Macbeth thinks he has. This plays on Macbeth's ambition. The language used to describe the wood is also the language that you would use to describe a king. And this great wood and high hill is where Macbeth has his castle. And so he associates that with himself. It's, if you like, a symbol of his own greatness and nobility. But the Witches, of course, mean it ironically. And look what else they do. Instead of using the word march, which of course would alert him, because that comes from the semantic field of the military, would alert him that if the wood had to march, how would they do that? What would the mechanism be? It's not a massive leap of the imagination to think that Macbeth would work out, oh yeah, of course, that would be great camouflage. Soldiers could chop down some branches to hide how many there are. We wouldn't know who it was that was attacking us. And actually, this isn't a particularly difficult military tactic. And of course, Macbeth is a successful general. He is a military tactician. So he would simply see through that if the witches use that sort of accurate language, because that is what happens, isn't it? The wood marches up the hill because it's being held by marching soldiers. So instead they turn to this very, very neutral verb, it's not very active at all, come against him, so that Macbeth is lulled into thinking the whole wood has somehow, in some supernatural way, got to move. So you can see how cunning the witches are in their choice of language to try and lull Macbeth into this false sense of security. Now let me show you something absolutely amazingly cool. So what I've done is put vanquish into Google because I wanted to show you the difference between vanquish and defeat. It's a slightly different semantic field, even though the meaning is still the same. So here it shows to defeat thoroughly. Now that's not the really cool bit. Look at this. There's something called an n-graph that Google do, and teachers haven't really begun using this, but I love it. So if you click on that n-graph, this is what you'll find. So what this tells you is the change in the word, the use of that word over time, and Google has searched every single book it's got online. And so in 1800 you could see it's reasonably popular compared to where it is now, and the use of the word vanquish declines. So it's a more old-fashioned word, but remember I wanted to show it to you in contrast to defeat. So if I put defeat here and then search lots of books again, we see something fascinating. You can see that defeat is a much more popular word to use than vanquish, and consequently we can infer from that that the witches are using it for a specific purpose. And I'd like to suggest the purpose is this: when they talk about vanquishing Macbeth, the implication is that that will only happen when he is defeated by an army. That's how he will be thoroughly defeated, vanquished. So they're giving him a really strong clue that it's not going to be some assassin who turns on him. He is going to be defeated by a whole army. And what's ironic there is they're daring him to realise that it's Malcolm and the English army that's going to kill him. And then here they're kind of pretending with that verb that it won't happen. And so they're toying with him. On the one hand, they're suggesting it's inevitable that the army are going to kill him. And on the other hand, they're suggesting actually, no, that wood is never going to come. Do not worry. And you could argue that it's this tension and uncertainty that finally unhinges Macbeth and prepares him for the tragedy of his own death. And finally, you can see that I've used an analysis that looks at this sort of language in the context in which it was written. And so I'm always hitting AO3 and AO2. And really, the two things that I've talked about to do that have been the semantic field that the language comes from and the connotations of that language. So much simpler than previous videos in terms of the language that you need to use in order to hit those points. And the other thing, of course, that you will hopefully be familiar with from my previous videos, we've got the trochaic meter and the break from the iambic pentameter. So hopefully you are now well armed to ace any question on Macbeth. If you're not, more quotations are coming. Stay tuned, please subscribe. Good luck in your revision.